Hello patrons, and welcome to the monthly exclusive Patreon video for the month of, I'm pretty sure, August, even though it's coming out September 2nd. That's how this works, right? It's the month before? I always seem to forget. Anyway, whatever the title says is the truth. There is so much to talk about. Holy cow. Like, there is a ridiculous amount of things to discuss here. So this could very possibly be one of the longest Patreon videos we've ever released. So, you know, get comfy, go make some popcorn or something, because there's quite a lot to discuss. So let's start at the top, which is the beginning of August, and that is the fact that I had talked in the last Patreon video about the fact that I was probably going to be getting a new vlog camera, and I did. In fact, I'm using it right now, and if it looks identical to the last one, there's a reason for that. It's basically identical to the last one. My issue with the one I was using before, the ZS100, is that it had gotten basically smudges underneath the lens, which are impossible to clean. At that point, your only hope is to send it in to get, you know, repaired, because they have to deal with it. So I decided I was going to do that, and because I didn't know how long my camera was going to be gone, there was an updated model of what I was using, which is the Lumix LX10, and I said, well, this might be a good opportunity to, you know, just get that camera. When the ZS100 is repaired and comes back, we'll have two cameras that shoot basically the same stuff, so if we ever need to use two cameras, we're in pretty good shape. So this camera that I'm using now is the Lumix LX10. The biggest differences are the fact that it has a flip-up screen. So right now, I'm looking at you guys, but if I look up here, there is a screen. This is the first time ever that I've had access to a screen, which means that for the entire history of the vlog, everything shot before August, I have never been able to see what I've been shooting. I got familiar with, you know, a general idea of what the framing looked like, so I could, you know, I could hold the camera in such a way, and I kind of knew where I was, but also there's definitely moments in vlogs where I'm not quite hitting the right, you know, person. They're not quite in frame, etc. That has changed, because now I can just look up at the screen and say, oh, I want to frame this exactly how I want. I want me on this side, and I want to be able to see, you know, that headset there. Now I can do the video. I've been using it now for, I didn't get it at the very beginning of August. I got it before ChefCon, so I don't know. I've had it for a few weeks, and it's been one of those things that I'm like, how did I ever live without this? This is such an incredible help, just to be able to frame stuff, that I don't know how I ever lived without a screen to be able to see myself. It's been a little tricky to make sure that I continue looking at the camera and not the screen, because it's a little distracting, but as long as I set it up initially and then look at the camera, things are good. Also, I never mentioned in the vlog that we got a new camera, just because it's something I wanted to talk about later on when I could do a comparison and actually surprise people and be like, hey, we've been using a new camera for this amount of time and you didn't even know it, because the cameras really are similar. The flip-up screen is not the only difference. It also has a wider aperture. The aperture opens up to 1.4 as opposed to the ZS100, which opens up to 2.8. So this, for one, is going to do better in low light situations, but also it has increased depth of field, so the bokeh effect is a lot more powerful, aka the blurry background. The background's going to be a lot blurrier on this one, especially if you get everything set up just right. Other than that, the only downside from this camera compared to the other one is that this one has less zoom. The ZS100 has a 10x zoom, this has a 3x zoom. There's definitely been times in the past where zoom has been helpful, but overall it's not used all that often. And as a plus, if we know we're going to need zoom, we can always take a second camera. So if we're going to go on vacation somewhere, it's very likely that both Mao and I will take vlog cameras now, and we can kind of double shoot things. Another thing I got is a pistol grip, and the only way I can really adequately show this off is if I get to a mirror. So let me kind of show you what I'm working with here. So this is a pistol grip. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's like the grip of a pistol, but attached to the bottom of the camera. These things are super cheap, like less than $10 cheap on Amazon, and they're pretty nice. I haven't used it a ton, but it is very helpful, so you guys can actually see exactly what I see now. Isn't that great? It's really, really beneficial. I cannot believe that I went, how many years? 8 years without having a way to actually see what the heck I was doing? The other thing that is super new and I've been bugged about for so many years is I have not had any way to reduce wind noise on the vlog camera. They make these things, I don't know what the actual term is for them, but in the industry they're called dead cats, which is a terrible sounding name, but they're wind mufflers, reducers. You put them over microphones and they look like dead cats. It's just a bunch of fur. And what it does is it allows the audio that you intend to capture to go through into the mic, but any wind that blows by doesn't get into the mic, because when it does, it makes that terrible sound. You may have noticed one being used on the camera that we shot our wedding with. We were out on the beach and we used my camera, my mic, my dead cat, and Dan shot it. So in certain scenes you might see Dan possibly with the dead cat. Maybe there's photos or something, I don't know. Anyway, they make those for tiny cameras, and I got one. There's a company, or I think it's really just a guy, in England that makes this one called a Micromuff, and you just basically take a little Velcro thing and you attach it around the holes of your camera where the mics are, and then it's a Velcro dead cat that you can put on and off when you need it. So I have the Velcro up around the holes up there, and I have the dead cat actually on my keychain in a, of all things, a key fob holder. They sell these things on Amazon that hold your key fob for your car, and I got one of those, and I put the dead cat in that so it keeps it safe. So if it's windy, I can open that up, I can stick that on, wind noise is gone. And I actually had a chance to test this out, and it works astoundingly well. So in the future, if it's ever windy, I will have that on my person, I could get it out and the wind noise is gone. It's it feels good. It feels really good. It feels good to not ever become complacent. We've been doing vlogging for a long time. We've been doing a lot of stuff that we've been doing for a long time, and yet we continue to not only get better at what we're doing, but we continue to like learn more about the equipment that we need and upgrade to the equipment that we need and do things that, you know, make the overall quality of everything that we create better. And sometimes it takes 8 years to do that, but we're there, and it just feels really good to have now 2 cameras that can shoot, you know, very similar things, and to have the dead cat, which kills off the wind noise. Sorry, I know that I've rambled on about this for a long time, and that's just literally my first bullet point on this, but I had to go over that because this is like a really, really big deal. Also, it keeps focus pretty good, and I'm crossing my fingers that it didn't like mess anything up. I haven't locked focus, but you can set it to just track faces, and it tends to do it better than the ZS-100 did, probably because of the wider aperture. Fingers crossed there. Okay, so now that I've rambled on about a camera that some of you may or may not have cared about, let's talk about the other things that happened in August. One of the things that happened is JEF CON. We had people in our house for how many days straight, Mal?
9.
9? 9 days straight we were hosting company, and we had a blast. Don't get me wrong, we had a blast. But by the time it was over, we were like, wow, people were here for 9 days. Unfortunately, I know I had probably announced it in last month or the month before's Patreon video. Unfortunately, Nick was unable to come. At the very last moment, just a few days before it was supposed to start, he said that he had taken I forget what it was, he had taken a trip to New York, and he said that, I think he said he spent a lot more money than he intended to in New York, and because of that he wasn't able to join us. And I was like, you know, I hate to see you not join us, but I also understand. The good news is we might be seeing him sometime next year, so hopefully we'll see him, you know, maybe in the spring of next year if things work out. But that means that we did have, obviously, the namesakes of JEF CON, Chaz and Jeff. We also had Alex and Haley, Lindsay and Dan, who live here, myself and Mal, which live here, and then also Carly. And it was nice to have Carly here because she's not normally, I hate to say that she's not normally a part of this group of people, but I mean, she's not. And it was nice to have her here, and she interacted with everyone really well, and it was fun to have everyone around. Another thing that I said last month that did not end up coming true is that I said that we were planning on recording a first 20 of Dream Daddy, which is the dating simulator where you date dads, or dreamy daddies. Me and Chaz were going to do a first 20 of that, and I thought that it was a great idea. We ended up not doing it because Chaz was reading about it, and he said that you basically have to play like an hour of the game before you get to like the first decision. And when people are watching those sorts of videos, they're really interested in what decisions you're going to make, like which dad you're going to date. And to try and do an entire 60-minute video before we even get to that point was a little much for having everyone in town. So we decided that it might be something that we still do, but we were going to wait on it and possibly do it at another time. Here's the good news. Even though we did not record the Dream Daddy First 20, we recorded a lot of Jackbox. At past ChefCon events, we've recorded stuff, but it's always been like one video. At one ChefCon, we did the Donkey Kong Country competition card. At another ChefCon, we did the Wii Sports basketball competition. So like it's always been like one video. This time we recorded 6. We recorded 6 episodes of what we're calling IRL in real life, Jackbox. So we got to play Jackbox together. We have face cam for all of it. We basically put we took the GH4 and put it up in the corner of the living room and shot everything into the living room. And it's just us playing Jackbox and having fun. I don't remember the exact games we played. I do know that we did play Faking It. And if you're not familiar with that one, it's a game that you can actually only play in person. You can't play it online, because we've done some Jackbox episodes across the internet by sharing the screen. But for Faking It, you have to be in person because it requires like pointing at people and looking at people and interacting with people in the room. And we were fortunately able to do some episodes of that. So there's a lot of Jackbox content coming at you, and honestly, it's really funny. So I'm super pumped for that. We also recorded one other thing, and that was mini golf. We had actually recorded mini golf in July with Carly. Meemaw and Carly did, I was talking about that I think last month. Meemaw and Carly did a miniature golf course based on art history stuff at the, what's the name of the place? What's the name of that art history, or not art history, the art museum?
Walker. The
Walker in Minneapolis. So we did mini golf then, but we did another mini golf during ChefCon, and it was me, Mal, Chaz, Jeff, and Dan. So the 5 of us do a miniature golf course together, and that's actually a chance. That was whenever I had a chance to use the Dead Cat, and I played back some of the footage, and I was impressed.
Talk loud, it's windy.
Sure. We've just completed the 9th hole, so we're halfway. We're into the halfway standings. With 24, I was like, holy crap, there's no wind noise, and that's impressive, so very happy about that purchase. Now, as I mentioned last month, the reason we were doing ChefCon here, in addition to the fact that we can now host because we have enough room, we were doing it because the eclipse was here. And the eclipse happened on whatever day it happened.
Monday.
It was last Monday? 2 Mondays ago?
Almost 2 weeks now.
Time's passing really fast. But for the eclipse, we went to Thomas's parents' house because they lived basically right in Totality, which was really awesome. Thomas was unfortunately not able to be there. He had work, so he was stuck in Florida. His wife Brittany was there, and some of her friends. We actually brought a pretty big crew over there. It was like a 2-hour drive to get there, and it was everyone for ChefCon, my parents, Austin and Nikki, and Lily. Lily, who's like 2 months old, got a chance to, well, not see directly, but, you know, experience the eclipse. William was there. We had a lot of people at that eclipse, and I knew that the camera equipment that I had wasn't really set up to get the eclipse itself. There are people that spend $100,000 on camera equipment to capture this, and I knew that their stuff was going to be better than anything I could try to shoot. So what I focused on was the people and the experience. So I actually set up several cameras. I had one camera shoot from behind, and you can actually see everybody and also the sky changing. And I had a camera in the front, which was shooting like the front of people's faces. And then I also had this camera, the LX10, and I was just doing handheld stuff to show, what was happening. And it was really cool. It was really cool. We had a very unique experience being directly in totality. And the coolest thing is, assuming that we're all alive in 7 years and still doing all of this, and ChefCon is still going on, 7 years from now, there will be another total eclipse, and it will go directly through Muncie, Indiana. So in 2024, ChefCon is happening in Muncie, so we can experience yet another eclipse. Also, a really cool photo of the eclipse that Jeff took. Just wanted to show you guys that because that was what we got a chance to see, and it was.
You can see the solar flares and stuff.
Yeah, you can. You can see the solar flares and everything around the edges, and it was wild. It was a very unique experience, and I'm excited that we got to at least try and capture some of that. Other things that happened during ChefCon, we tried the M-Berries. Those are little tablets you let dissolve in your tongue, and then it changes the flavors of foods. Those are something that we had actually been sent. I think Jam Meepler, one of our patrons, actually sent us that like quite some time ago. We finally got a chance to try it, and it was very strange. It was very strange. I don't want to spoil anything, but that's coming out at some point. Also, something that happened during ChefCon, Jeff really wanted to go golfing, and like real golfing, not just miniature golfing. So he wanted to go golfing. So me and Alex decided we'd go with him, and we went to a par 3 course. So there is footage that is going to come eventually of the three of us at night golfing, and it's kind of strange. We are not particularly great, but it was a fun experience. It really was. It was different, and I did enjoy myself. So let's see what other things. I've continued. That was ChefCon. That was my bullet point for ChefCon. I've continued working on vlogs. It has been very difficult because I had people in my house for 9 days and basically could not edit for 9 days. I had trouble scheduling Stephen Plays stuff during that time. I'm now back into editing vlogs. Things have moved into July. I'm starting to work on the road trip that we took to Wisconsin. And I gotta say, I really like what we're doing, but Dashcam did not help vlogs come out any faster. Like, it makes them more interesting. Absolutely. And I love having more tools in my arsenal to create. But one of the downsides is that, you record all this footage, you gotta kind of at least sort of go through it. And when I capture it, whenever we're actually, doing the road trip, I know vague ideas of what I want to include and how I want to do it. But it is daunting to open a timeline and drop in 13 hours of Dashcam footage and say, this is a vlog. This is your vlog. In order to do July 3rd, you've got to go through all of this stuff. But I also know that it's going to get better because we're not always traveling 13 hours. The other thing you may have noticed is that I started utilizing Google Earth Pro, which is a free application. It used to cost $400 a year. Now it's free. And it allows you to make really cool flyovers and interesting map videos. It's basically Google Earth, but you can set certain locations and then record videos in whatever resolution you want, even up to 4K, and it does all of the work for you. You can even utilize the 3D buildings aspect if you're into that. So you could do fly-throughs of a city, and it's not the most beautiful thing, but there's 3D buildings. Super neat, highly recommended. If you guys want to play with it, just type in Google Earth Pro. Once again, it used to cost $400 a year, and about a year ago they were like, it'll be free. Thanks, Google. Don't understand that, but that's very nice. So I've started to utilize that a little bit. All right. Now my final bullet point for August is a doozy of a one, and I always say thank you guys, and I mean it sincerely. And I've said it more and more lately because YouTube has been changing in ways that really put a squeeze on us, and we're very thankful for your support because we're basically to the point now where we have to have the support. Like, if we didn't have Patreon, I'm not even sure that we could continue doing what we're doing, at least not in the current state of YouTube. So let me tell you about the new YouTube system. And I'm actually going to be dedicating tomorrow's vlog, which I haven't shot, obviously, the September 2nd vlog, to this, but I'm going to tell you now. YouTube changed a bunch of stuff back in February. You guys might be familiar with this. There was a backlash from advertisers, and some people want to blame certain people or certain videos. To be honest, it was probably inevitable. So it's hard for me to get behind blaming like PewDiePie or someone, because it was probably inevitable that this would happen. But advertisers saw their ads playing alongside of videos that were, you know, distasteful, either crude or violent or racist or whatever, and they pulled their advertising from YouTube. And when that happened, things got bad very quickly, because there's not ads then to run against the videos that are playing, which means YouTube's freaking out because they're not making money, and creators are freaking out because if YouTube's not making money, they're not making money. So a lot of things were scary very quickly. In a response for YouTube to say, hey, advertisers, please trust us, we're getting this all under control, they developed a system that would allow advertisers to mark which content they were okay with their ads appearing alongside. You know, they could say, well, I want it to be squeaky clean, and they're like, okay, got it, it'll only run against squeaky clean stuff. They could check a box that says, I'm okay if it runs against something with profanity, but not against violence. Or I'm okay if it runs against violence, but not anything that's, you know, vaguely sexual. So they gave advertisers those controls. The big question is, well, how did they decide what content is sexual or profane or racist or violent or whatever? Well, there's a bajillion videos being uploaded every second, so the only way that they could do it is if they developed an automated system. And as we know, automated systems always work great. So it worked about as well as you would expect, and the problem is, actually, running alongside this, they developed something called restricted mode. And restricted mode was basically, I think it was touted for use in schools and libraries or something. But because they were now grouping content into all these different things, they could introduce this new restricted mode, which allowed you to turn off, you know, profane videos or turn off this, that, or the other. And when they introduced that, if you turned that on, that kind of gave you a little eye into what was happening. It gave you an eye into if your video was in restricted mode or not. And that, up to this point, has been all we knew. Well, as of just like a week or two ago, they've begun rolling out the feature to channels that actually shows you which of your videos have been hit with what they call limited or no ads. And I got it the first or second day of ChefCon, and it was depressing, I think, is the best word that I could use, because you log into your account and you look at your video list, and when you have a video that's monetized, it's a green icon. And when it has limited or no ads, the new thing, it's a yellow icon. And basically everything was yellow. And I was like, wow, this is what's actually happening, because revenue since February, March has been down, to say the least. And depending on the channel, the type of channel that you're running, it could have like completely decimated your channel. I heard reports of someone who was running a gaming channel where they basically only covered Call of Duty, and because that's marked as, you know, violent, basically their ad revenue went down like 90% or something, and it completely tanked the channel. And it was a guy who had a family, had a wife and like 2 kids or something, and he was unable to continue doing that. It was just an immediate overnight thing where it's like, boom, you're done. We have not been that unfortunate, obviously, but it's not been great. That's what I would say. It's not been fantastic. Because we have a variety of content that helps keep us a little safer, but up to this point, the big thing is that we couldn't see it, and now, as of a week ago, we can actually see it. So the advantage to seeing it is, for one, being aware, which I think is is a big help. It allows you to see, oh my god, this is why revenue is dropped, because all of these videos YouTube thinks are unsuitable for advertisers, which they're not, and I'll get to that in a minute. So that's one thing that's good. But the number two thing is that this finally allows us to fight it. Because up to this point, there has been very limited ways to fight it. You could see a video in restricted mode, and you could like email them and be like, hey, why is this in restricted mode? And occasionally, and I do not know why this is, but occasionally they would email you. They'd email you and say, hey, we've detected your video is not suitable for advertisers. I got one of those requests for the anesthesia vlog, the one where I'm in the hospital and I'm babbling like an idiot talking about how great Kelsey is. I got one of those requests, and it was weeks ago, and it was just out of the blue. And that was the first one I ever got, but if you go into restricted mode, there's tons of other videos that aren't appearing. But for whatever reason, they sent me a request, a manual request for that one specifically. So it's weird. I don't understand the system, but thankfully, it is finally rolling out where we can fight them. And fight them I have, because YouTube's thing is that, you know, I understand where they're coming from. I definitely do, because they're working with advertisers that don't want their stuff, their brand associated with certain things. I totally understand that. But they have said on their rules, their terms of service for this, that you should still be good with video gameplay as long as it's in the context of a full episode. Violence, profanity, things like that, as long as it's not like crazy through the roof, should be good in the context of an episode. Things that would not be okay is like if you did a montage. This would be, I mean, this would be probably a little crude, but if you did a montage where you just ran through and just shot people in the head, right? Or if you did a montage of like every moment in The Walking Dead where someone gets shot, and you uploaded just that would almost certainly get rejected because it's just nonstop violence the entire time. But in the context of an entire video, apparently it's fine. So, I've been fighting these, and I've won most of them. Which is good. I've won most of them. There's a few that I haven't, and there's some really weird stuff associated with all of that, because you don't really know if they're going to accept it, because this, when you hit the button to fight this, and it goes off into wherever land, they said that they'll get back to you within 7 days. From what I've experienced, they've gotten back within about 2 to 3, which is good. But it's going to different people each time, and the rules are vague. And you know that they're not going to watch through the entire episode of Fallout. You know they're not. Like, that's not going to happen. And I've had certain episodes of Fallout get accepted, certain episodes of Fallout get rejected. I've had certain episodes of Walking Dead get accepted, certain episodes of Walking Dead get rejected. I've had every episode of Morning Mario get accepted. There's been a few weird things as well, because recently I posted something on Twitter that blew my mind. There was an episode of The Walking Dead that flagged, and a memorable moment where Mouse says "we" that for basically 50 seconds. I requested a manual review on both of them. Guess which one got accepted? That's right, The Walking Dead episode. An episode full of profanity where someone gets shot in the head on screen versus 50 seconds of Mallory going "we," which was denied. Once again, these were manual reviews done by human persons. I don't know. Like, I'm very grateful that they accepted the Walking Dead one, because that is within their rules. It's a situation where it's in the context of a 30-minute video, and I even go the extra mile. You know, I'm not required to do this, but at the beginning of the video I say, hey, this game's rated M. You know, if your kid's watching this, maybe you shouldn't let them watch this, you know? So I don't know if that's helping me. I don't know if that's hurting me. Everything right now is just really... It's like a Wild West right now. And my hope is that it will get better. And I really, truly... Maybe I'm just stupidly optimistic, but I really, truly think it will get better. It's a system that is automated and it has to learn. But I really think it'll get better, and I'm really hopeful that they're going to implement some sort of, like, vague whitelisting, where they're like, oh, Stephen Plays, we keep hitting his channel, he fights them, and we've actually accepted basically all of them. Maybe he's fine, you know, maybe he is actually doing a lot of family-friendly stuff. Maybe we should leave him alone. Will that happen? I don't know. But I'm really hopeful. Anyway, the biggest downside to the thing is that, I have to get comfy because I've been holding this for a while. The biggest downside to this is that during the time where it's set in limited ads mode, however long it takes for them to get back to you, basically. And the turnaround time's been 2 to 3 days, which is pretty good. But during that 2 to 3 days, you are experiencing limited or no ads, which means that your video could be doing one of a few things. It could be making as much money as it normally would, because maybe the ads that are matched against it are the people that were like, yeah, we're good with everything, that's cool. So that could be happening. You could be getting limited ads, basically, you know, very few of those ads. You could be making nothing. And I have looked at the analytics on some of this stuff, and I've experienced all three. So it's a roulette. And the thing that sucks is that however long it takes for them to get back to you, that is money that is potentially lost. So that's the concern. You know, even if they do finally accept something, the concern is that they took time to do it, and that is, you know, revenue that's potentially lost. So I'm just hoping for a whitelist. You know, I hope that comes at some point. I don't know if it will, but that's where I'm at. So, yeah, before ChefCon, I had uploaded basically everything for the entire week, and after this thing switched over, I'd say 90% of them had that yellow icon. And I had to go through and fill out the metadata and then fight it on basically everything. And the other thing is that they won't, and this is such a key thing, is that you can't even upload stuff early and have them check it, because they won't even check it if it doesn't get at least 1,000 views within 7 days. So, you know, you can't even do anything early. You have to wait till it's public. So there's no way to even like game the system that way. They have to actually wait for it to come out. And, you know, in the first 48 to 60 hours or 72 hours, that's when all of the revenue is going to be made on the video. I know that I talked a lot about that, and you're going to hear all of that again on the September 2nd vlog, and I apologize for talking about that so much, but, I mean, you guys know, of course you know, you are our patrons, that this is our livelihood. And while we, you know, rely on you guys, we're also still relying on YouTube, and this has changed a lot of stuff. And this has been going on for a few months, but this is the first time. I mean, it's great that we can fight it now, certainly. But this is the first time that we've basically seen the window open and seeing what's actually happened. And I'm using the word depressing because it was. I mean, to start ChefCon and to look at that list of videos and be like, oh my God, it's everything. And it goes way back too. You know, it affected the entire library of videos. There's I think we figured out what the number was whenever I first did it. I counted them up, and it was like 280. It was a little less than 300 videos of the entirety of Stephen Plays that was hit with these things. But also, with the way the system works, it's not just based on your title and your tags and your thumbnail and your metadata. It's affected on your subtitle track. So like whatever it auto-generates for the subtitles, if it detects that there's profanity in the video, which sometimes it gets wrong, then it'll do it. And it's also based on, Lord help us, the comments. If the comments are talking about like a certain subject or whatever, it can flag it. And I'm like, because it'll look at the comments and be like, oh, the comments are talking about, you know, boobs a lot. Maybe there's boobs in this video. And then it'll actually go back to a yellow monetization. And I've had videos that were yellow, and I fought them, they went green, and then it went yellow again. Once again, I apologize for dedicating this much time to this, but you're going to hear about this September, for the September 2nd vlog. I wanted you guys to know now, because I wanted to be able to tell you personally, thank you. Because the only way that I feel like I can stay sane is knowing that you guys have our backs. And I appreciate it more than you will ever know. And I work hard because I love this job, and I love entertaining everyone. but it means a lot to know that while we are entertaining and we are creating this stuff, that we have, you know, whether basically the equivalent of investors who are supporting us. And I really appreciate it because that is what allows us to not be completely swept under by all of this nonsense that's going on. There are, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be people that quit YouTube because of this. There's going to be people that go to other platforms, and I already know that people are making big switches to Twitch because of this. There's going to be people that they're going to lose the motivation to create because, you know, when you do something and you upload it and you are immediately hit with this thing that you have to fight and explain yourself and hope that they get back in time, but even if they do get back to you, it's been a few days and then you've lost revenue. Like, it's for anyone that would want to start YouTube, this is literally like the worst time ever. And I feel bad for anyone who doesn't have the kind of backing that we do from you guys, because this is going to affect them in a big way. Anyway, once again, I talked about this for far too long. I'm going to move on to happier, sunshinier things. And I want to move on with one final thing, and that is that we are going to continue creating. That is what we love to do. That's what we're going to do. We don't have any plans to really alter any of our content, really. And we don't really have to, because, you know, I was talking earlier about the fact that if you, if you have gameplay content in the context of an entire episode, it should be fine, even if it's violent or whatever. As long as they continue to play ball that way, then we will continue to do what we're going to do. That's basically how it's going to be. Oh, and one final thing, and this is really great. Steven Vlog doesn't have the feature yet. And I know that there's videos in restricted mode, and I can't fight them. I emailed them about that, and they're like, it'll happen in a few weeks. Awesome. All right, on to sunshinier things. Also, I think I'm developing carpal tunnel. I've been holding that pistol grip, and my hand won't close. All right, let's switch over to my non-dominant hand and see if I don't drop the camera. So that was August. Let's talk about September. All right, so the first thing that happened in September, which happened today, which is currently September 1st, Morning Mario 500. I can't believe that it's been 500 episodes. It started in September, I think, of 2015, so it's been nearly 2 years. We hit 500 episodes. Super exciting, and the introduction of Facecam. Excuse me, I'm suddenly very burpy. There was, I've looked on Discord from a few people talking, and there was a few questions about how we did certain things and how we introduced Facecam and what the setup was. And once again, that's going to be revealed in a vlog, but I'll tell you guys right now. So I knew I wanted to start doing Facecam, and there was a few reasons for that. For one, I think that it would actually be a legitimately good addition to the series. I wouldn't try to force something on the series if I didn't feel like it was something that would benefit it. And the reason I do is because there's been so many times during a level where something crazy happens, and I'm like, this would be really good to see. You know, like, there's reactions that are coming out of my mouth that you hear, but you don't get to see with my face. So being able to set up Facecam for that was really nice. The other thing is that with Facecam, we can do certain visual gags that we couldn't do before, and there's definitely a looser editing style in Morning Mario 500 than past episodes, but I also feel like we're basically to the point where we can do that, more or less, because after 500 episodes, it's like we can kind of, like, I don't know, this is a weird analogy, but, take off our jacket. We've been marching along for 500 episodes, and now on the 500th one, we're taking off the jacket and we're having a little more fun with it. And I'm trying to keep in mind as I move forward with this that people are still here to see a Mario level. I don't want to do anything that obviously obscures the gameplay or distracts from the gameplay. I just want to do some things here and there that give people some extra laughs and also appreciate the fact that my face is actually there. So that's the hope. And I know that there's a very fine line between, like, entertaining and annoying or overbearing. So as long as I'm aware of that line, I think that I'll walk it pretty good. Now, originally, I was actually planning on doing a vote. I was planning on doing episode 500 and then calling a vote at the end and saying, would you like to see more face cam? But I would like to do more face cam. And I decided to forego the vote because it's something that I personally really wanted to do. The other thing is that if I start doing it and I get familiar with it, then if there's other applications where we want to use it, where it makes sense to use, one of which I'll talk about in a second, then I already have the know-how to how to best set it up and best edit it and things like that. That was a mouthful, but that's Morning Mario. So as for the behind the scenes and how we did some stuff, I guess that really just comes down to the green screen. And for that, there is something pretty cool. Let me flip this around here. So over here, this is something that is quite new. This is an Elgato green screen. Yes, Elgato, the company that makes the capture devices. They just launched this product not long ago. I was thinking about doing face cam, and honestly, I was going to do it by just including, the box, the entire frame on the video. I would have preferred to do green screen, but I was like, well, there's not really a good solution because I record it here. I'm going to have to hang up a green screen behind me, and that's something I don't really want up all the time. It's going to take up a lot of room. While I was searching for all that, I found out that the Elgato green screen was getting ready to come out, and I was like, well, that's really good timing. Plus, there's applications for it outside of Morning Mario, so we should get a lot of use out of this thing. So to show you how it works, it is this very long thing. Hopefully you can get an idea of the size. It's pretty big. But you pull it out here, and it has feet. And on the other side, so it has some level of stability. And then you just flip these up, open this up.
Sagan is not happy.
Sagan is very, very concerned about what's happening right now. And then all you do is pull this up. There we go. And when you let go, you're done. That's it. That is the entire setup. It has a crossbar in the back that supports itself. It's honestly super, super cool. And the timing on it was basically perfect because I was looking for maybe some sort of solution that I could do something with a green screen, and then I discovered that this was coming out. As far as I know, I actually got the first shipment of these that were sent to Amazon. So this is super brand new, super helpful because I can record a week's worth of Morning Mario. And then I can put this away, and it doesn't take up space. It's really, really fantastic. And as you might expect, it goes down just as easy. All you do is push. So you just push down. It folds up. Close the thing. And there you go. And then you can carry it on your merry way. This thing is really neat. It is not the cheapest option by any stretch of the imagination. If you are looking for a green screen, you can go buy green fabric and tack it to a wall. But in our particular situation, I don't know how that would have ever worked because there's not a wall behind me. So this made life a lot easier. Very thankful that I discovered the product, but then also that the product launched at just the right time. In fact, I got it in the mail 2 or 3 days before the finale, before the finale. It's not the finale. Before the 500th episode, so just in the nick of time. Very, very thankful about that. So that's all the Morning Mario stuff. Done talking about that. It will continue, and I'm excited for the future, and we'll see what happens. Other things happening in September. The Walking Dead is ending, and that has been a 2-player slot for a long time. In fact, it used to be, and the history of the channel has always been, long LP, a very long LP, like Skyrim, Fallout, etc., single-player LP, and co-op LP. That's the way it's been. That's the way it's been for a long time. But about 9 or 10 months ago, things got changed around where there were so many co-op games or single-player games that Mal and I wanted to switch off. There's so many games that we wanted to do that we basically killed off the single-player slot, and it was just Fallout. So it was Fallout and 2 2-player slots. And the last game that I did single player was Uncharted 4, which is funny because now the next single player game that I'm doing is, Uncharted 4.5. It's the DLC for Uncharted. It was DLC, but now it's got its own standalone release, and it's called The Lost Legacy. So when The Walking Dead ends in the middle of September, the new Uncharted game, Lost Legacy, will replace it, and it will be starting on September 14th. And I'm really excited about it because I really love the Uncharted series, but I really loved 4 like a lot, and I'm excited to see what they do in this, extended DLC, I guess we'll call it. Other things happening in September. Nicole is definitely visiting. I know we've talked about it vaguely, but did she get her plane ticket?
She said she was getting them this weekend.
Okay, so she hasn't gotten it, but is getting it soon, and she should be here at the end of September. I think she might be staying with us. I'm not sure. She's either staying with us or Lindsay, one of the two.
We're also keeping an eye on Hurricane Irma.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a hurricane. Well, there's already a hurricane that has devastated Houston.
Yeah.
Harvey came through and, I don't know if there's any amount of preparation that they could have done to prepare. I mean, they probably needed to do more prep anyway, but the city where it sits was lower elevation, right? So, the floodwaters have just been sitting there.
Not like New Orleans.
Well, yeah, New Orleans is a very special case. But Harvey hit Houston very, very hard. And now we're looking out into the Atlantic and we see Irma, which is...
Cat 3 right now.
It's currently a Cat 3, and it could become a Cat 5. There's a lot of stuff up in the air right now. We won't know more for a few days, but it's good that you threw that in, Mal, because...
Some people don't know. We are keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, we are keeping an eye on it, and also, for people that don't live on the southeast, or, on the East Coast, that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but it's something we're keeping an eye on, and if this thing is big and bad, and if it comes our way, we gotta get out. So we're keeping an eye on it. We won't stick around if it's not worth sticking around for, but it's just, it seems like it's going to be a rough hurricane season. My heart goes out to everyone affected in Houston and all of the surrounding areas, because there's a lot of destruction from Harvey. And Irma could also be bad news. We're keeping our fingers crossed it's not. And then the final thing for September, and this is, I don't want to hit on this too much because it's kind of secretive and it's not really my call to announce. So I'm just going to say that I might be going out of town this month. And if I do, I would be out of town next week, actually.
Yeah. A week from now.
And if it doesn't happen then, it could happen in October, or it could happen both. I don't know. I don't know anything, and none of that is my call to make. It's up to someone else. There's very little notice, and all I'll say is that I'm telling you this now because if it happens, then I can at least say, well, I did tell you. And if it doesn't happen, then I will tell you what this was all about, so I won't keep it a secret from you. But it's not my story to tell, so I'll have to explain another time. All right, so now let's talk about all the things that are happening in the future. Pikmin 2 is ending. That got its own bullet point, just because it's been a trial. And in fact, we already beat it. We actually finished up Pikmin 2, and we had to because we have so many other things planned and going on that we needed to get that game finished up. And you know those shirts? Have you ever seen the shirt that says "I apologize for what I said during Mario Kart"? Have you ever seen that? They make a shirt and it says "I apologize for what I said during Mario Kart" because you say things during Mario Kart that you don't mean.
Yeah.
I need a shirt that says "I apologize for what I said during Pikmin 2." Pikmin 2 was an experience, and it was hard. It was one of the hardest games I, honest to God, think I've ever played. And frustrating. One of the most frustrating. And at the same time, good. Like, both Mal and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there was a lot of cheap tricks, and there's a lot of moments where it's like, oh my god, this game! And I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that for the final area of the game, the Dream Den, Mal and I go in there, and I experience literally every range of emotion. Everything. There are points in which I cry. There are points in which I'm furious. There are points in which I lose my mind and I enter a Searle-esque state. Because it was a lot. It was a whole lot. And I know that in the LP that's getting released tomorrow, the day you guys get this, I think we're entering the Hole of Heroes, but at this point in time, we've actually finished the entire game. We finished the Hole of Heroes, we finished the Dream Den. There was a bunch of people that were like, don't worry, the Hole of Heroes is harder, Dream Den is easier. You people are nuts! The Dream Den was wildly more difficult, and we had wildly more of a tough time with it. And it's entertaining, but like, you can slice the stress. By the time we got into the Dream Den, we were both like, we got to get through this. Holy crap! Now the good news is, for all of the stress and anxiousness and anger and all the things that build up during the Dream Den, it's all completely relieved once we figure out how to beat the final boss. Once we're like in there doing it, oh my lord! Every piece of stress just melted from my body. And I told Mao, I said, I've never been this frustrated doing a Let's Play before. The most frustrated I've ever come close to is Chulip. And anyone who's watched Chulip knows that there's extreme frustration related to the frogs. Well, Dream Den surpassed it. Mao, did you want to add anything about your feelings towards, like, finishing Pikmin 2?
I'm glad it's over. I mean, I enjoyed it. I wish it wasn't so stressful, but when you're doing a blind Let's Play and you can't go back and change things, you're just...
Yeah. Well,
it where it lies and running with it, it's hard. Yeah,
I'm actually, in some aspects, I feel like I'm proud of us for not resetting. There's so many people that were like, you should, if you get to this point, you should reset. And I feel like that's a fine strategy if you're playing by yourself, but like, for the purpose of entertainment, I feel like that kind of cheapens the Let's Play in a way. And I'm sure people would understand, but I feel like when you have the aspect of like, oh my god, they lost a ton of guys, are they going to reset? And we don't. Like that, knowing that we're not going to if something terrible happens, that we're going to live with that mistake, I think it ultimately made it a better Let's Play. So I don't regret not resetting. But yeah, it was rough, man. It was really rough. That said, Pikmin 2's campaign is over, but the challenge mode is not. Challenge mode, if you're not familiar with Pikmin 2, is a mode where Mao and I actually get to play simultaneously. We have certain challenges, I think there's 30 of them, and we have to get through them. And, they give us I think they give us a set number of Pikmin and we have to do certain things, but we actually get to do things together on screen, split screen, which is awesome. And we're going to be doing that after Pikmin 2 ends, but Pikmin 2, believe it or not, has been on the channel for a long time now. 6 months, I think. 6 months going on 7 months. And because it's been on the channel so long, we know that not everyone's into it, and they want something new to come along. So what's going to happen is, when Pikmin 2's campaign is over, that is going to shift into a different Let's Play. But Pikmin 2's challenge mode will start coming out in a completely new 4th LP slot, possibly daily. So like every weekday at 3 p.m. or something like that, you would get a new challenge mode. That way we can wrap up challenge mode in the span of a month and a half, and people who still really enjoy that content get it, but anyone who's ready for Pikmin to not be occupying a slot can get something completely new. So that is the plan, and we are going to be doing challenge mode. In addition, Mao managed to, thank the Lord, secure a Super Nintendo Classic. We did get one. We managed to get one from Walmart, and we will be doing, a playthrough of that just like we did last year with the NES Classic. And the only issue is that I wanted to kind of do it the same way that we did the NES Classic last year, which was, we do one every day, like we did for the NES Classic. But the problem is, it's going to be at the same time where we would be doing the Pikmin 2 challenge mode. So I don't know what the plan is yet. I'll just say that. It's possible that either one of them could be delayed to allow room for the other. It's possible that they could both run simultaneously, in which case we have probably lost our minds, because you'd have 3 LPs, but then like at 3 o'clock you would get Pikmin, and then at 6 o'clock you would get Super Nintendo Classics, and it'd be that way for a month. So that's something. I don't really know how to tell you, that it's happening other than it's happening, because I do not know what's going to happen yet. I just know that we have secured one, and we want to make the content for it. I just don't know if we're going to have time to fit it in with other stuff. But that's the best I can do. We're considering right now, I'm going to throw this out there, we're considering replacing Pikmin 2's campaign with Until Dawn, because Pikmin will be ending, from what we can tell, early October. And since October is, a spooky month, and it's been a while since we did a spooky game, not counting The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead, I don't know, it doesn't really rub me as a horror game. It's a game about decisions, sure, but I don't know if it really counted as horror. We've been thinking about doing Until Dawn, which is kind of a campy B-horror movie, and it's actually in the same vein as the Telltale games, where you get to make decisions and people live or die. From what I've heard from people, it could be possibly more entertaining than the Telltale games, although it is a little different. And because we now have this green screen, and because we now have the technology, and we figured things out enough in order to do Facecam, we are thinking that it might be a good time to introduce Facecam for both of us. So, Pikmin 2 ends, we do Until Dawn. It is a co-op LP that Mal and I do. It's a single-player game, but we take turns. Same thing as the Telltale games, the Walking Dead game. We are each making decisions each episode that very heavily impact who lives and who dies. From what I've read on the box, there's 8 people that are on an adventure, and any of them can live, any of them can die. It all depends on the decisions that you make. So very similar to The Walking Dead. So with that in mind, I think that'd be a lot of fun. But if you want, and the way I'm thinking about it now is because it's a horror game and there should be some scary stuff and some facial reactions, it might be cool to put Mal and I in front of the green screen while we record it and include that. I know I've rambled a little bit about that, but that's my idea, is to do Until Dawn after Pikmin 2 with Facecam, and I think that would be really cool, and a nice way of saying, hey, we can do more with this green screen and more with Facecam than just Morning Mario. We can do horror stuff as well. I'm not ready to jump into saying, we're going to do Facecam with everything, because I honestly don't feel like it's appropriate for everything. Games that elicit facial reactions are good matches for it. Live streaming is good because you get to interact with an audience. But anything that doesn't elicit that same reaction is not, I don't feel like it's really that needed. Because in Morning Mario, there's a lot of oh my god, this happened. And seeing my face is nice. In a horror game, there's a lot of, holy crap, that happened. But in any other game, I shot a guy. You don't really need to see my face. Don't look at my face when I shoot people. Alright, there's even more. But we're almost there, so if you finished up your popcorn, you don't need to make a fresh batch. We're almost done here. I wanted to kind of formally announce that First 20 has evolved a lot over the years, and I think that First 20 is going to have to be split into a new series. The reason I say that is that First 20 has always kind of been a mix of young and old. There's been new games, but there's also been retro games. But over the last year and a half, it's really heavily shifted more towards new games. And there's a reason for that. The reason is there's a ton of people making video games. We get reach out to via email a ridiculous amount of times a month. I probably get about 300 or more emails a month now just related to the indie game development scene. A lot of those contain keys, or they contain information about games that are being developed or worked on, etc. So things have changed in that landscape. When First 20 started, it was just a situation where there's a new game out that the developer sent us, but we probably won't get another key for several months, so we'll do Kirby. And now it's completely different, where it's there's stuff to cover every single week. There's so much to cover that I could probably there could be an entire channel where you did daily indie stuff. That's how much stuff is coming out. The amount of game development going on right now is insane. So, I say all of that to say that I don't know when this would happen, but it's very likely that First 20 will just fully shift into, hi, we are new games. We are, indie stuff or AAA stuff, anything that is new or relatively new that we are getting from developers, or you guys, if it's, you know, new and relevant, that would be first 20. Then we would do a different series called, most likely, we'll probably call it Retro 20, where it would be stuff that is older, and it would give us a chance to actually show off these games, because we get a lot of requests still to show off older stuff for first 20, but it's a really bad situation, because if you want your video to be relevant, you have to release your first 20 of a new game, like, when the game is still new. So someone's like, hey, can you do this game? And you're like, well, I can, but this game just came out. You know, this video is going to do better. Even if I want to do Kirby, if I'm ever going to do this game, which looks interesting and fun and I want to try, I should probably do it now. So just having 2 series would probably completely alleviate that problem. I do not know when that's going to happen. I wish I could tell you, but adding another series to Steven Plays is like a monumental undertaking, and I'm not ready to commit to that. I just know that it's something that needs to happen. Other things. Extra Life is November 4th. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan. Right now, it's probably not going to be themed, because GameCube is not anywhere near finished. It's probably just going to be, we have games, and here is our list of games that we have, request a game. And that, honestly, that might be too hard to even try to do for certain things, because having everything set up in a streaming environment is difficult. Like, it's hard enough doing just one system, and having everything set up ready to go for any possible contribution is difficult, and it's got me a little freaked out. It's also got me a little freaked out for the fact that everything is still super stressful, super behind, and we're taking on a ton of work the month before in October. And I'm not going to say that, like, we're canceling Extra Life, but I will not lie. I will absolutely say that the thought of skipping this year has certainly crossed my mind. Just for the fact that we are so swamped, things haven't slowed down, and it takes a lot out of you to do that event. To do an 18 to 20 hour event with prep ahead of time and then a jet lag feeling for days after. The mere thought of doing it, like, I love the event, and I love doing the charity, and I love raising money for the hospital, but it's extremely taxing, and it's coming at a bad time. If things might be completely different, like, we might breeze through September and October and start getting caught up on stuff, and then that pressure will be relieved. But right now, the mere thought of Extra Life is, like, haunting, and especially when I don't have a nice solid plan like we've had in years past, where we can be like, yeah, it's Super Nintendo themed, yeah, it's Game Boy themed, yeah, we're doing N64 carts. It's a little depressing. Also, the fact that the goal that we want to set is like 15 grand, which is just an extreme amount of money when you don't even have a theme or a particular thing. I don't say all that to sound depressing or to say, you know, I don't know if we're going to do it, but that definitely has crossed my mind. So I'm not going to say that it's canceled, and I'm not going to say that it's 100% happening, but depending on how things go, it might be skippable. I don't know. I hope we don't. I'll say that. I hope we don't have to skip it, because we've done it for 5 years straight, and not to toot our own horns or anything, but we are basically the sole providers of money to that hospital for this particular event. There are other gamers that play, but we are the only ones that are on the scope or the scale that our channels are, so we've brought in a lot more money than everyone else has. So I want to continue to be able to help them, but also 2017 has been nuts. I'll just say all that. Last 2 things. Almost done, promise. A few months ago, Amazon Prime had announced that their cloud backup service was going the way of the dinosaur, that they weren't going to allow you to have unlimited space anymore, which kind of put us into a bind, because we were in the process of uploading all of our stuff, because everything we have exists basically on OneDrive. And I know that that's bad. Like, all of the stuff that's currently in production is backed up. But everything after it's done and uploaded to YouTube, those files are sitting on OneDrive, and that's dangerous. And I really don't want anything here. I want some off-site storage. And I think we finally found a solution that will work. There's a company called Backblaze that will allow you, it's the cheapest option, it allows you for $50 a year to back up as much data as you want, as long as it's connected to just one computer. As many internals, as many externals, whatever, but it has to be connected to one computer. So they're the ones that said it, not me. So I decided this tonight to buy some extra internals. They're on their way. I'm going to put them into the Windows computer, load it up with everything we've ever made, which is probably going to be like 10 to 12 terabytes, and then I'm going to back it up to their service. And they actually said on their site, they're like, you got 10,000 gigs? That's fine. And I'm like, okay, because we have 10 to 12,000 gigs, so I hope that that's okay. And finally, the very last thing I have to say on this extremely long Patreon video, I told you that you needed popcorn. We did not do PAX this year. We did not do PAX last year. But next year we are considering the possibility of returning. And we're taking it at least more semi-seriously than we have in the past, because we have ordered business cards, which is totally weird, but there's opportunities at PAX whenever you're dealing with developers, etc., where business cards actually would be advantageous. And we decided to design some. They're not here yet. They should be here within a week or so. But this is the front. So you can see it's the channels, Steven Vlog, Steven Plays, and contact info. And this is the back. It's for Mal. This is basically, you know, our corporation. And it is. It's weird I can actually use that word. It's our corporation. And I think that it's something that we wouldn't use very often, but if we go to one of these events, we will have, and we can say, hey, it's been good talking with you. You know, when you get a build up or your game is finished, you want someone to check it out, here is, you know, our card. Or if we just want to stay in contact and, you know, for whatever reason, that we'll be able to do that. So, yeah, they'll be here soon, and I'm excited about them. That's it, unless, Mal, you thought of anything else that you wanted to add, but I don't think so. I think we basically covered everything. It was a long Patreon video.
This.
Huh? Is he being cute? He's being cute.
Good boy.
I told you at the beginning it was going to be a long Patreon video, and I apologize it was so long, but there was also so much to talk about, and I had to go off on a little spiel about some of the crazy stuff going on YouTube. As I said at that moment, thank you guys for supporting us, because you are supporting us. Like, you have to consider the weight of that word, and the fact that when I say support, I literally mean support. Like, you are helping to keep everything running and help keep everything going and help us continue to do our jobs and better things and, you know, get better equipment and work on doing all sorts of wild and crazy new ideas, because YouTube, I mean, historically has let people down, and it's a great platform. I do truly love YouTube, but there's a lot of times where over the years they've dropped the ball. There's a lot of times over the years where I feel like they've screwed people and screwed me personally, and it's just really nice to feel like you guys have my back. So again, I sincerely appreciate it. Anyway, that is it. You are now free to go. I know that this was a super long one, but I'm also sure that many of you watched the entire thing, so thank you. Have a great September. It's going to be a busy month for us. I hope you guys have a great September. I hope you enjoy yourselves. And we will meet back here at the beginning of October.